Welcome to part 2 of using Vyond at NorQuest. In the first video, I made a very simple video using pre-built template scenes. I selected a character, our young kid here. Looks quite studious, doesn't he? He almost looks like he's going for a job interview. And in this particular movie that I made, we've got the student at home on his laptop. The student is then being hacked. Something malicious is happening. Student's wondering what's happening, and then the student decides to call the police. Now, this isn't the most believable story in the world, but that's okay. That's not what we're here for. We're here to show what Vyond can do. I think in my ideal narrative, I'd be adding in another scene here. Maybe something's happening with the kid. Maybe they lose access to something on their computer. Maybe there's some money that goes missing. Something strange on his screen. Whatever. It can be anything. But let's go over some of the other pieces we can use. Now, the first thing I can do is I can easily reorder my scene. So I can drag this scene over. I can change my scene order as I want to, just by selecting my individual item and moving it to the appropriate place. As we saw in the last video, I can change the length. Right, I can go from say 3 seconds to 5 seconds. Now, one handy feature on the side here is I can actually change the scale of my timeline. So here we've got about 1:20 on the timeline. That's all the way zoomed out. If I zoom that in, we can get as small as 5 seconds. So if I want to make very minute changes, I can use this timeline to decide how much of my scene I want to see. The standard is around, I think it's about 19, 20 seconds, something to that effect. And you can see my videos auto saving anytime I make any significant changes. Let's add some more elements though. Let's use some of these extra pieces. First, let's add some music. I want to have an audio track running all the way through. Now, I don't know if you can hear this. Let me test out. I don't think you can hear that, but that's a kind of classic Western themed tune, which has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm making here, but let's pick it anyway, just for fun. So we've got an all hat, no cattle. Now, if you look at this, this is showing the waveform of the particular song. And right now it's quite loud. Look, you can see it in that spot. It's going into the orange. That means it's pretty loud. I find for background music, it's good to have it quite low. So I'm going to turn this down a lot. Instead of being at 100%, I'm going to take that 5%. Let me explain what I just did. That was a little too fast. So I'm going to right click on my audio and I'm going to go into settings. And from settings here, I can change the volume. I can also change the fading. And I like to have it starting at a good volume, but eventually fading out. So let's add a fading. I definitely don't want to fade at the beginning, but I do want to fade at the end. Okay, that looks good. Now this is going to handle the whole track. So I'm going to have to zoom out. I'm going to have to go all the way to the end. So that audio file's ending around 2.5 minutes, or sorry, 2 minutes 55. I'm going to have to bring that all the way back, and unfortunately I have to do this one at a time. Just like that. Let's going to end with the end of my scene. Let's put it right about there. Now I zoomed out my view. Let's zoom back in. We can see all of my scenes at once. One less. Now we have some backing music. Cowboy music, but backing music nonetheless. Now let's add some context sounds, right? So here we have our student sitting at their computer. Maybe there's some keyboard sounds. So let's go to the audio. Instead of being in background music, I'm going to go to sound effects here, and I'm going to search for a keyboard. And I've got some typing sounds. So let's add in this typing sound. Well, this one runs a little bit longer than I'd like, so I'm going to drag that to match that scene. And again, I always find these a little bit too loud, so instead of at 100, I'm going to make it, let's say, 20%. We've also got a cat in the background. Oh, I don't feel like a cat really makes that many noises. Maybe we want to add in some mouse sounds, like not a squeak mouse, but a computer mouse. Let's add in a couple of clicks. So this is a little too small. I'm going to have to zoom in. Let's drag over to that scene. So here's my mouse click sound. Let's say I have one maybe about there, and I'm going to duplicate that sound. It created a new track. You can't quite see it, so I'm going to drag my timeline view. So now my preview view is much smaller, and you can see I got a little bit more control over my timeline. Maybe there's going to be another click right about there, and then I want to add in one more maybe just before the scene ends, right about there. So we're going to have some keyboard sounds, some mouse sounds. Let's have this go a little bit further, and I'm going to have this fade out as we go into the next scene. So we're going to add fading. We don't need one at the beginning, and at the end, maybe just 1 second. That should be plenty of time. So just a slight fade. You can see there's a slight fade there. And now here we want to add something a little bit sinister, right? We want to show that there's something a little bit evil is not quite the right word, but evil. I'm going to go into my audio, and I'm going to search for something spooky. So we don't have any under background music, but we've got one called Spooky Mist. This is one I like to use to give a sound, like a sinister sound. This is a long one, but let's add it in. And I'm not going to quite need this whole clip, right? That's a lot of sound. I don't want it to run through the whole thing. So let's just chop off the beginning here. So I'm going to hit split. This is going to take off the beginning of the sound. I'm going to drag it over. And again, we've got a peak here, right? It's peaking, so I want to make that a little bit quieter. Again, I like to be around, 20% for background noises, or I find it's a bit overpowering. And now I need to drag that over. So again, I'm going to change my timeline view. I'm going to drag my sound effect over. And I'm going to add in fading again. Fading out your scenes makes a huge difference for audio continuity, I find. And it gives that movie feel. It makes you feel like, oh, this is really drawing me in. It's those little features that actually create the illusion that what you've made is of some professional quality. Things like the audio fades, adding in sound effects, small transition features. I find that's the difference between, oh, that's a nice video, and wow, that looks professional. All right, now here we've got the student is thinking, inquisitive. Maybe let's have him say something. Let's have him talk. I'm going to use my audio feature, and up here I'm going to use add audio, and I'm going to pick text to speech. Let's have him say something like, I think I might have been hacked. I think I might have been hacked. I don't love that. Was I just hacked? Something like that. All right, now we're going to need to pick the right character. We've got a child. Child's a man or a boy. I'm going to definitely need a male voice. And let's pick somebody from the United States. Male, Joey. Now I can listen to what his voice sounds like. You can't, but I can. I'm going to generate it. And now I'm going to press play and listen. It sounds okay. I'm going to drag that over a little bit. Now you can see I've got it assigned to him, right? We've got his little face on there. So we know it's him talking. I'm going to change my view a little bit here. I can see a little bit more of my character. I want him to say it to the beginning of the scene. And I want to make the scene maybe just a bit shorter. And now let's check and make sure we've got the dialogue assigned. Let's make sure that he's actually talking when this happens. I want to see his lips move. There we go. So you see that? His lips were moving. Let's see that again. So as his line comes up, watch his lips. Adds a little something. A little something. My cowboy music sounds terrible, by the way. Let's leave it in, though, for the jokes. Okay, so we have him asking a question. And now maybe there's some voiceover here. It's not from our character or from the police officer. Maybe it's just a narrator. So the narrator can come in. Again, let's add. I can use a mic recording, but I can't for this video because I'm already talking to you. But let's say I pick text to speech. And I can say something like, watch out for hackers. We're going to use a woman's voice, so we give it a sense that it's somebody else. We're going to generate that. Remember in the last scene, go away box. Remember in the last scene we can see the face of my character. Here we have no face. We got a robot, so we know that that is speaking to the scene rather than speaking to a particular, or it's a narrator's voice, not a character's voice. I can change that by going into settings and then by selecting the audio. I can assign the audio to a particular character, or I can assign the audio to nobody. So it's on nobody. I'm going to keep it as nobody. Okay. Well, that's it. So I've assigned my audio. I have some sound effects. Maybe I want to add in something like cop related too. I want to add in like a police siren or a 911 call or something. Let's see what I can do here. Let's try something like a phone. I'm just going to put in phone and see what it gives me. Okay, office phone ring, no. Phone hang up, no. Cell phone dial. Cell phone dial, that's about right. So let's put a cell phone dial in maybe here. Okay, so what I could do here is I could add a scene with our young character punching the numbers in a phone maybe, or I could have a shot of a phone and the numbers popping up, but we don't need to do that. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. All right, so I have some transitions. I've got some background music. I have some sound effects, and I have some dialogue. So this is getting closer to a fully realized video. Perfect. Okay. In the next video, I'm going to talk about how to add in some more animations, some more visual elements beyond the scenes, beyond just the templates, and also show you how to export the video or also export it as an animated file like a GIF or a GIF, depending on your pronunciation. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching.